Moving on to our topic number 9, and Brandon, you wore the jersey today. Tough day this week in New England for Patriots fans. Brandon, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Julian Edelman, hanging them up.
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the best Patriots, in my opinion, to basically retire and walk away from the game. And we're talking about, in my opinion, one of the best Patriots of all time. And you see him wearing his jersey. He truly was my favorite Patriot of all time. And I mean that. Like, a lot of people would obviously bring up the GOAT, Tom Brady. But for me, it was Julian Edelman. I loved this guy. He was truly my favorite player. I was a huge Wes Welker fan, loved Wes Welker, was great out of the slot. And then Wes Welker, obviously, it was time for Wes Welker to move on. And people were going to say, hey, who's our replacement for this guy? Who's going to be the next Wes Welker? And I kept telling people, he's already on the roster. He's already on the roster. He was this young rookie coming out of Kent State, but I could see it. And obviously, Bill Belichick saw it too. This kid was just a football player, just a baller. Just get him the ball, get out of his way. He's that type of player, and he really developed into really one of the best receivers of all time, in my opinion, for the Patriots. And so, I mean, chalk it up for him being in the Patriots Hall of Fame. And in my opinion, he deserves a gold jacket to be in Canton. Okay, here's some numbers for you. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2018 Super Bowl MVP, 620 receptions, almost 7,000 receiving yards, 41 TDs, all for a 7th-round draft pick, all right? A guy that came out of nowhere, a guy that flew under the radar, right? So, I mean, and to think, he made some of the biggest plays and some of the biggest moments, okay? Think about that touchdown catch against the Seahawks, where he runs that amazing whip route that puts us ahead in the game, or that amazing catch that he makes against Atlanta that puts us ahead in the game, and for that Super Bowl. Or people will tend to forget that touchdown pass that he throws to Danny Amendola against the Ravens was really the game that drove us to win the Super Bowl that year. So, I mean, without this guy, the Patriots do not have as many Super Bowl rings and Super Bowl trophies as they do. So clearly, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, he should have more than 3 rings because he's that great of a player. But yeah, you got to put him with a red jacket into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And you got to, in my opinion, put him in with a gold jacket into Canton, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Honestly, second all time in the playoffs to only Jerry Rice when it comes to receptions, yards, touchdowns. So if anybody wants to argue that he doesn't belong in Canton, that is even arguable enough for me right there, that he is one of the biggest clutch receivers in NFL playoff history and in NFL Super Bowl history, that's why he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Like I said, just second in the numbers behind Jerry Rice, who's also a Hall of Fame wide receiver. And we're talking about one of these guys, a tough guy, a guy that can just give you miles after miles. And even in his video, he said he was going to play until the wheels fall off. And unfortunately, they've fallen off with a big knee injury. And we all know, like we were just talking about, even with Jamal Murray, a knee injury is tough to come back from. And when you're later on in your career, it's even more tough to come back from. And I know, guys, producer Ben's putting up the Tampa Bay and Gronk, but I'm going to have to disagree with everybody talking about how he's going to go down to Tampa Bay. I think he was serious when he came out with this video that he was retiring and Foxborough forever, because I don't think you're going to see this guy put on another uniform. And I think he really is hanging it up, and it's because of that knee injury. It's a very serious knee injury. Reports over the last week have been coming out that it wasn't going to be rehabbed enough to be able to play, or it was going to be one of those things where he was going to re-injure it. So it's just better off for Julian, for him to walk away from the game right now where he can still walk away from the game and go and do something else. Because this guy is, like I said, he's the light of football. I love this guy. That's why I keep going on, and Pat, because I love this guy. Like I said, one of my favorite players of all time. And hey, Julian Edelman, bring back the show Burger Time. If you guys, any other Edelman fans, remember, he used to do a social media show called Burger Time where he'd bring on guests like James White or Tom Brady or Gronk or like David Andrews, and he would talk to his Patriots teammates, and they would joke around. They test out different burgers and stuff. So, hey, Julian, now's the time to bring back Burger Time. But personally, Julian, as a fan of the game and as a Patriots fan and as one of your biggest fans, thank you for the 12 years that you gave us here in Foxborough and for those 3 Super Bowls and for all those amazing moments that I know I certainly will not forget. Thank you, Jules. Thank you.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable for the Patriots over these last few years. I love the sign, man. Love the sign. You mixed in some color there at the bottom. Nice job. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll definitely be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. Surefire, first ballot, Patriots Hall of Famer. I think it is a borderline case as to whether or not he should be in the NFL Hall of Fame, but I think he should be in. You mentioned the playoff statistics, and like you said, only Jerry Rice was ahead of him in a lot of those statistics. But even like some of the seasons that he had when he was in his prime, 2013 was really his breakout year, 105 catches, well over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. 2014, the year they win the Super Bowl against Seattle, 92 catches, 972 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2016, 98 catches, over 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2017, got banged up a little bit, missed a few games, but still 74 catches, 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. 2019, 100 catches, over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. So you have 2 seasons where he goes over 100 catches. You have 2 more seasons where he goes over 90 catches. He has 74 catches in an injury-shortened season. Then he had 2015 where he got injured, midway through the year. I think he got such a late start because he was kind of sitting behind Welker and Moss and Dante Stallworth for a little while. And then, of course, the Pats brought in Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. So they had all these weapons, but Edelman just kind of kept hanging around. Finally really got a shot in 2013, and you saw what he did with it. So, yeah, I think he should go into, there's a lot of people that argue, New York fans are going to argue that Eli Manning should be in. I don't agree with that. But if you're saying Eli Manning should be in, then Julian Edelman should be in because you're using almost the same reasoning as far as being clutch in the postseason, and I would even argue more that Edelman's had better overall performances in the postseason, not just a couple of throws that, were great throws, but they weren't, an entire game of a performance. So I think Edelman should be in. He's not going to Tampa Bay. From all the Patriots beat writers, I heard Greg Bedard on a podcast in Boston Sports Journal where he was saying, like, it's a bone-on-bone knee situation. And even if he tried to come back, he would never be able to play 16 games. He might not even get through half the season. So, they were talking about it on Greg Bedard's podcast, how, you feel bad for Edelman that he couldn't walk off the field with a bunch of fans this past year for his last game. But at the same time, he's walking away. He's not limping away. He's not, it's not like he just was one of those athletes that hung on too long with a really serious injury and maybe got one too many concussions or, you start to worry about the long-term effects. He's doing it the right way, and it's sad to see him go, but he's got all his accomplishments. He's got 3 rings, and hats off to his amazing career.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up all those numbers. 100 was like the target for him, right? Every year it was like 100 was the target, and if he got close to that, then you knew he was having himself a really good year. And for all you viewers out there, 100 catches is nothing to joke about in the NFL. I mean, you generally have guys that might have under 10 catches or might have 40 or 50 catches. So to get almost 100 catches and to have that be routine is huge. But we're also forgetting about, like I said, the touchdown passes that this guy threw a bunch of touchdown passes, ran a bunch of touchdowns in, also made a bunch of tackles on special teams. So I think it just goes to more about how Bill Belichick called him the ultimate competitor. And
he played defensive back too.
Yeah, played some defensive back and made some defensive back plays, like kind of like Troy Brown used to do for us. But it's just one of those things. He's just a football player, and obviously he played quarterback at Kent State. But when he came here, it was well known that Bill Belichick said, hey, we're drafting you because you're a football player, and we know you can do many things. And that's exactly what he did over his career of 12 years for the Patriots. And what a great player. And like I said, he's definitely going to go on to do bigger things, I think, even off the football field, because he brings such charisma and carries so many fans still with him that I think this is not the last you've heard of Julian Edelman. I think we're expecting to see just what's next for Julian Edelman. But once again, Jules, thank you for a great career here. And I know Pats Nation will be grateful forever. So thank you, Jules.